Me to the monthly webinar for the National Chimney Sweep Guild. This is presented every month by CVC Success Group. My name's Jerry Eisenhower. Appreciate you joining me again this month. And after I did last month's session, which was an interview with Bob Daniels, it made me think. As we went through the history of what Bob had went through, it made me think about the ways we have changed the way that we train within this industry. See, as Bob talked about, one of the things that he did many years ago was he presented business building workshops around the country. And in earlier times, there was just a few ways to get training. There was no traveling training thing going on like there is in the year 2020 or was prior to the COVID virus. Basically, we had a National Chimney Sweep Guild convention, which was once a year, that we had various seminars, both technical and business side. And we also had regional associations, guilds as we called them, that also put on some great training in those early days. And also there were some other people like my friend Pete Luder, who's been long gone. Him and two ladies from North Carolina, Cindy and Brenda, used to go around and they presented a series of seminars around the country. But as we've moved in and we've advanced technologically in many ways, the ways that we train have been greatly improved, and access to training is now at a whole new level of availability that it never was before. And we got to face it, training is one of the needs of every company. And this goes for the new members of the industry that join, as well as experienced team members. One of the things that we need to do is we need to have continuous training. And this goes for every member of the team from the top to the bottom. In today's world of business, with the changes in our customers' habits, technology, and other changes, a business has got to have training that meets the needs. And today, training is more important than ever. The need for training is going to find it in various areas. It could be in your technical skills, it could be documentation, it could be inspection processes, it could be sales, it could be lean processes, office operations, and so many more that we never dreamed of some years ago. So having access to the best training available is now commonplace in the industry, and it's presented by a lot of different sources. In other words, you've got a lot to choose from this day and time. But what you've got to do is make the choice of what's going to deliver the best return on the investment for the training dollars that you spend. How do you stretch that budget out? And in today's world, these are some of the options that you can choose from. You can actually do in-person trainings right there at your own location where you bring in a trainer, or perhaps you're doing it yourself. You've also got all kinds of remote trainings that you can travel to. These are put on by associations, by foundations, by distributors, and by private enterprise that provides training. This is all available to you. You can do hands-on training at your own location, bring in a great hands-on subject matter expert, or you can do this at a remote location. There's a lot of choices there. You also have now what's called ride-along training. Ride-along training is where an instructor would travel to your business and train one-on-one in the field with your technicians. And in the last few years, one of the things that's really come up and has gotten really big, and you have choices of these, are recorded online platforms. Then you also have the choice today that you can attend virtual live stream training. It could be presented for groups of companies or even could be live streamed directly to your company on demand. And this is a decision you got to make. What's going to work best for what you're trying to accomplish? But a lot of this is going to depend on the material that's being presented, because some training is going to have to be done hands-on, which is very difficult to do with a virtual type recording or with any, live streaming or recorded. So as you go through this, here's some of the things to be looking on. Do you have a training budget? In other words, how many dollars a year are you going to invest in your people by the training that they go to? What's your training objectives? What do you want to get? What's the return from sending people to training? And this is a big decision for a lot of people, and I'm getting ready to ask you, which is, you're so busy, how do you implement training when you're so busy? And this is a question that also goes through many people's minds. How do we justify an investment in training when we're not producing any income while we're training? And that rolls into the next one is where do we find time for the training that we need to do? And lastly, how am I assured I'll get a return on my investment? These are all the things that as a manager, you need to definitely be running through your minds. These are some of the major questions. You may even have others. But to make the right decisions, you got to have some planning in order to answer all of the questions that you may have. Here's a couple answers to look at. What about the in-person trainings at your location? Quite honestly, these are great. Many companies do this, and many even partner with other companies to assist in defraying the cost of the training. But it can be an expensive proposition when you look at the cost of the instructor and fees and expenses. Plus, do you have the proper classroom space and training areas to do this in? This is what I've seen many companies do in the industry. They're actually building in-house training centers within their facilities to be able to train their people in-house. It's a great choice in regards to taking your training to the highest level and providing a great ROI. What about remote trainings? These are ones that would be put on by associations. It could be put on by a company, a distributor, or any other entity that presents training. And yes, in today's world, in our industry, there's fantastic training opportunities. But you have to wait until the distributor, an association, or another group holds them at a time and a place that works for you. You also have the expense of travel, and you got to face one of the real issues, which is the potential issue of your team members building a relationship with other teams and actually being headhunted at some of these remote trainings, which is going on. You can do hands-on training at your location. It's a really great process and it has a great return on the investment. And with this, many of the needed skills that you are needing to build in your team can be built. So this could be a great choice for consideration. You may decide to do in-house training and even invite other companies in your market area to join you in defraying the cost of this kind of training. The ride-along training aspect, this is a great way to build the individual skills of your workforce. With this, a subject matter expert goes to job sites with your crew. They're using your customer's site, their fireplaces, their chimneys, their appliances as the training grounds. This is an approach that can deliver a great ROI also for any member of your team. Now, we also have at our disposal today is recorded online training platforms, an extremely cost-effective means of training, but it requires diligence in management because you have to assign courses, you've got to track attendance, and you've got to hold accountability of the people on your team. You can find great content online, but the challenge with online training is getting your people to use it. This is a common issue with many employers. They have access to the training, but they simply cannot get their people to use this resource. Another recent development in training is virtual live stream training, where classes are taught live and actually broadcast across the internet, where you can participate in open training where other companies are sharing in the same class and course. You can also have this done for yourself where someone can live stream the training directly to you. This provides an ability to interact with the instructor and able to ask questions of the instructor to derive the most significant value from the class. These are all methods of training that work. It's up for you to determine the methods that work best and deliver the highest ROI on the investment for you and your company. But it's also of utmost importance that you utilize methods that fit within your training budget. So there's a lot of ways to go about this, but you've got to make that decision for your company. So here's the questions again. What's your training budget? How do you plan to get the maximum ROI? What's the various ways that you can implement training in your company to move your expertise of your team members to a higher level? It's a very important consideration, one that deserves you to spend some time ponder the answers, and come up with the best process that works for you and your team members. Because, as I said at the start, in today's world, in the year 2020, there is so much training available in the industry to you and your men in this day and time. It's foolish to not be investing into this easy, accessible training that's going to help your team members move to that higher level that we envision. This is the way we promote ourselves to our customers and to others in the market area, that, hey, we're the best. And to do that and to be that best, you got to train to be that team of rock stars, that superstar team of guys that are qualified to go to the Super Bowl of business. So that's my thoughts for you today. Wanted to pass along a few things for you to think about in training your team. Let me know here. My name is Jerry Eisenhower. If you got any ideas or any input, I'd love to hear from you in the way that training will work the best for you in the year 2020. Appreciate you joining us. Hey, tune in next month for our next monthly webinar produced for the membership of the National Chimney Sweep Guild. This is Jerry Eisenhower, CVC Success Group. Appreciate you joining me this week and every week. Talk to you next month. Have a great week.